Okay.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you with thankful hearts, asking for your wisdom as we gather to serve our community. Guide our minds and our hearts in this meeting so that every decision we make reflects fairness, integrity, and compassion. Help us to listen thoughtfully and to act justly, always seeking the greater good for those who have entrusted us with this responsibility. May we be faithful stewards, mindful of the needs of every individual in our community. Grant us the courage to do what is right and the strength to work together in unity. We ask your blessing upon this meeting, that our efforts may honor you and serve the people well. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, that Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Right. All right. Next up on our standard items is receive public comments from the public. Have anyone here? Okay. Next up is receive president and director comments. Do we have any? No. Nice. All right, so item number 5, consider an act on request for adjustments or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Fantastic. Okay. Remind me how we do the consent agenda. Do we just accept it as pro forma? How do we do?
Ask if there's anything to be removed. If so, remove that particular item. If not, a separate motion.
Is there anything that we need to amend or discuss or change as far as the consent agenda items?
No, I didn't either.
I did not. Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
Make a motion, accept.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Receive the regular monthly SJRI Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations, project, and public outreach.
All right, well, there's reports in your packet beginning on page 26. There's no violations, nothing out of the ordinary. What I did want to do is introduce a couple of people that we've brought. I'm trying to bring more people to the meetings, and they'll be here for the next few months to kind of see questions y'all ask, how things go and stuff like that. So I think y'all know most everybody except for 2 people, and I'll let you.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Malia Good. I'm the new Utility Enterprise Administrative Manager working for Chris. So I've been here about 2 months. Pleasure to meet y'all.
Thank you.
I'm Jacob Everett. I'm the Utility Enterprise Maintenance Manager. I've been here about 15 and a half years.
Awesome.
So that's all we have unless you have any questions on anything.
This came out, I was just curious on this particular page 27, where they talk about monthly accounted for water loss in gallons.
Yes.
How is that measured?
The actual flow meters on the wells itself. So in this case, they're from wells. And so as we're flushing, we're still counting the gallons that we're using and we just add those up and then that's how you get that number.
Okay. That's all.
Awesome. Thanks, sir. All right, next up on the agenda, receive a presentation of the SGRA Woodlands Division 10-year project plan. A little light reading here.
A little bit of life. Good news is it's pretty much the same as it was last year. So as y'all know, we have the 3 studies going on, one being the AC water lines, the other one being the big wastewater plant. And so with those in mind, this slide kind of tells you all you need to know on the right-hand side. There's only limited changes that have been done to the project plan because we don't have a path forward yet on those 2 main projects. So when you're looking at the project plan, some of the projects are what we call R&R funded. Those have just stayed the same as they were last year, just kept plugging along as approved last year. But I'm not going to go through their full presentation. There was a full presentation given to the trustees meeting. And so just kind of point you in that direction. I want to spend any time answering any questions y'all may have.
Yeah. I don't have any questions.
I think we're good.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Moving on. Like that. Okay, next up on the agenda, receive the attorney's report.
Yes, sir. So legislative session is in full swing. They voted on the budget, the House voted on the budget on Friday. They're supposed to be considering the school, I don't know what you call it now, voucher or, savings accounts or whatever it is. That's supposed to be considered right now. I know there's been some rumor about whether some of the folks would stay in town or not. I haven't heard that anyone has left yet, but see how that goes. That's happened before. We're tracking a lot of bills. Had a conference call about some of them this morning. It's kind of that crunch time now where the time is the clock and the calendar is much of an enemy as anything in terms of getting bills passed, which this session, that's frankly a good thing. Most of the bills we're tracking right now are bills that are more problematic than they were helpful. So running out the clock, we can get that.
We worry about special sessions at this point.
You're always worried about special sessions. Well, I say that. There's always a likelihood of special sessions with the governor if he doesn't get the priority items that he wants passed. The governor has the sole discretion to call a special session. Now, would a special session cover stuff that really is in our mud world? I mean, you're speculating, but
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely. It's probably going to be more, if folks skip town to prevent the passage of the school savings accounts bill,
Right.
which was a big deal last year. They called a special session.
Send the Rangers out to go find them and bring them back.
That happened in 2021 when they went to DC. So, that stuff happens.
I guess that's what, it was more the awareness as opposed to, when I say worry, it's probably low probability of anything that's germane for us.
For us, yeah, but at this point, it's really hard to handicap any of these bills when you've got so many floating around out there, and there's supposed to be a flurry of committee hearings and bills starting to move. It's really anybody's guess.
When does the session wrap?
Mercifully, at the end of May.
We've got about 6 more weeks. Okay, understood. Anything else, Brian? Okay, fantastic. All right, item number 15, receive and or act on the general manager's report.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Have a few things to go over. Ditch evaluations, we're continuing with those across the woodlands. I do have an item, next agenda item to talk in a little bit more in detail in one of our ditches. I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
The First All Muds meetings, as y'all know, was a couple weeks ago. The next one is May 8th. Same place, same time, May 8th. And then also the trustees have scheduled a special trustee meeting for next Tuesday, the 22nd. So that'll be to talk in a little bit more detail about the Corello analysis that's going on right now.
Okay.
What was the time set for that one?
Was it 6 o'clock?
Make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah. I know we talked about it, but I didn't know. I missed the time
I
on
will
it.
be sending out a reminder for folks this week. We're finalizing the agenda. It's really just going to be a short agenda.
Are we allowed to attend the trustees meeting? Okay, if we want to.
It's a public meeting.
Nothing else better to do. Got it.
I did want to update y'all that our billing software did go live. So our first bills went out with the new software. So working through a few little bugs here and there, but getting through it pretty well.
Yeah, I saw the notification about that, the prompts and stuff.
I do have as I promised, once we sent the comparison matrix out to Corello, that we'd give everyone a copy. So, yep, there's a copy there for you to peruse and see how the other MUDs made their choices compared to y'all. Yep, very interesting. Mhm. So nothing really to report on that, just providing that to you so you could review it.
Thank you, sir.
Give you an update on the GRP. Did meet with Kim and Brad to go over the last GRP meeting. The next GRP meeting is this coming Monday. And so we'll be talking through a few things there. And a summary of the presentation I gave summarizing the last GRP meeting is in your trustee packet, there in your packet. So you can kind of see a couple of the main topics that were discussed. The committee recommended to approve the demand schedule for 2026 to stay at 13.2 MGD average daily flow. And then there was some conversation about with Lone Star that happened, that was attending the meeting on aquifer decline and such. So you can read more about that as well. And let's see, with that, I think to the communications.
After
That means, sir.
page 57, starts your report. Yeah, the chart there at the beginning, just want to bring some outcomes for that annual update that you sent out to your residents. So you can see how many folks got that snail mail copy, how many opened an email, and then, you know, some of the resulting impact, website visitation being one metric. So you saw almost a 40% uptick in website traffic in the following 4 weeks from that update. So folks were seeing your message and responding to it. I think it's the bottom line there. So, of course, we sent that out via social media as well. But that's not captured here. That's hard to get much specific on that. And again, that lives year round on your webpage. We had our we had our third meeting of the community working group for infrastructure renewal communications on April 2nd. Went very well. We've got a really engaged group of folks, a lot of good conversation, a lot of ideas being brought forward, a lot of ideas on how they can take that information out into the community. That's what we want. That's the whole mission behind the group. We have our fourth meeting scheduled for May 13th. That date that I put down there is incorrect. It is May 13th, not 15th. For meeting number 4. That's going to happen at wastewater treatment plant number 1. So they're going to take a tour and then they're going to meet afterwards.
What time is that meeting?
Kind of new.
Who's that meeting for again? I'm sorry.
CWG, Community Working Group.
You haven't made one of those tours yet.
I haven't made that.
Could he tag along?
either.
Yeah, who's the, I don't know.
I don't have my list on me. Who's the primary?
You've literally missed each one that we've done, so I just.
Maybe the alternate, I don't remember. I think
Did they switch?
something switched, yeah.
Did you,
That's May 13th is middle of the week.
didn't he pick it up? Because Sean was.
Tuesday.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think Sean back up.
The kids, so you picked it up. So
Yeah.
it's your,
So,
Yeah.
You're supposed to be attending anyway, right? So, never mind.
I'll figure that out.
that's your.
All right.
yes, but if you and Sean can't, if someone else wants to
I'll figure
join
it
in,
out.
I know you've seen the site itself, but just participate in the CWG.
In the actual.
Yeah.
Collaborative.
Welcome to.
Yeah, let us know if you
Okay.
can't make it.
Next page, we're going to bring forward water smart registrations per request on a periodic basis just to see how you're tracking on your commercial and residential accounts. Right now, you're lagging a little bit on the commercial, above average on residential.
So that percentage is the total registered percentage versus of the population of commercial property. I mean,
Percent of commercial accounts that are registered with water smart.
wow, yeah,
Wow.
okay. But when you have fewer and if only 1 or 2 done, the percentage, it takes the needle a little heavier, so yeah.
Social media, just want to make a point, please check in on our social media channels. Every now and then, if you're not a regular user, and when you do, please like us, follow us, and share our stuff. It really helps us grow our reach. So while you're there, just push that button. And it makes a big difference for us. Our focus area right now for strategic plan is water quality. So we are pushing that message out, heightening that message in this quarter, which will run through May. And then we'll move to water conservation in June.
About that time, right?
Still message on lots of other things, but we just put the heightened focus.
Yeah. Everybody wants to
On
run
that
their
as well.
sprinklers 24/7.
Yeah, sprinklers are coming on. For sure. We have a kids art contest running through the schools right now. That'll wrap up in mid-May. And then finally that outreach calendar there. So Eric was out at the North Houston Association Water Infrastructure Committee meeting. He presented to them on April 10th. I was at the Woodlands Township Emergency Preparedness event on April 12th. That was a really good one. Lots of engaged folks there. I'll be out at Grogan'sville Farmers Market this Saturday. And Eric is going to be presenting to the Rotary Club May 1st. A reminder, you know, all these in-person events, these outreach booths, if you want to come on out and join me, please do. Come for 5 minutes or 2 hours, whatever works. You're always welcome. Any questions?
I have one question back on the first page on the mud, the first table where you were talking about the email and the website.
Yeah, you know, update.
What, when, on that first column, where we talk about mail and everything's 56%, can you just tell me what that, is that an error or is
Yeah.
that just?
Right now, because we're switching over software, we don't have it dialed in by MUD. We will.
Okay.
So that is the average across.
All the.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
So-
And by mail, you're like physical, something showed up in my mailbox.
Right, we're snail mailing.
Yeah, got it. Versus the email or website engagement. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Anything else here?
Next 2 items are mine as well.
Okay. Number 16, discuss and or act on engineer's estimate to evaluate the ditch erosion on the Harper's Landing ditch.
So we, Kim and I brought the engineer LJ out, as well as a contractor that does large ditch projects, large dirt work projects out there, just to kind of take a look at that northeast corner. I think we all know where we're talking about.
Yeah.
Pretty significant damage that's happened, you know, probably since Harvey at least. Just slowly eroding, pretty large, you know, embankment collapse.
That's on page 48 here, right? Let me see that
Yes,
picture.
yes. Let me see. Make sure that's.
Yeah. Wow, and the 60, that's the outfall pipe. So that's actually a repair.
Yeah, no, that's actually the repair.
Sorry.
This is around the corner. Keep on going.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have specific pictures. I asked the engineer to just give us some rough numbers, kind of more than anything, just to see if there's anything we even could do with, you know, with current accounts. And he's come back with numbers well over $2 million for the repair itself. So you're gonna have, you know, probably $150,000 of engineering through construction as well as construction. So overall, you're gonna be well over 2 million, which we just, you don't have that in the bank right now. So what I'm gonna recommend to y'all is that we do kind of a deeper dive as we're building the budget for next year to see if there's some other alternatives on how we might want to tackle this.
Okay.
Whether or not bonds are an option or what, I'm not sure. We haven't done it yet since I've been here to go into the bond market for district projects. But something like this, you were budgeted to have about $2.6 million in cash by the end of this fiscal year, which in no way would I ever recommend just do that down to nothing. So that doesn't make sense. So although your accounts are fairly healthy, it can't withstand something this big. So, and in addition to this, there's still going to be some additional ditch and piping projects, ditch related improvements, not just up in that corner, but also going down that we'll need to address. So that might be even make this even bigger as we address all those other little things
So there's my
along the way. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do one and then.
If you're in for a penny in for a pound, if you have to go atypical funding mechanisms, then
You would want to get more at one time. Yeah, you don't want to piecemeal it.
economies of scale.
Did he define specifically how the $2 million would be allocated to the work or how much? I mean, obviously it has to be engineered, but how did he derive that cost?
Flag even.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough, but looked at repairing the undermined slope paving that's coming from the west, you know, coming that direction. Because the slope paving, there's slope paving west of the bad area and it kind of stops. And then the bad area of really more dirt starts. So getting that shored up with fillable fill grout underneath it And then as you move east, bring in a lot of select fill to be able to redevelop the banks and recreate the banks. And then actually putting in slope stabilized blocks on the banks to be able to shore up that corner. Because, it's only going to take another significant storm to cause more damage again. So you really need to shore that up pretty good. So yeah, he's kind of itemized some of the different pieces that would get us there. It's not a real complex project. It's just a really big volumetrically speaking, big
Lot of stuff to be
It's just a
moved.
lot of, it's a 20 to 30 foot drop there on the corner. So it's deep at that point.
And they need to fill, they can't just reshape what they have and shore it.
So you would be doing that with the sands that collapsed. You don't ever want to go back in with the stuff that just collapsed down the bottom because it's junk. All that stuff is real sugar sand, which just means it won't hold up. If you try to use it to pack back on the banks, it will never hold. Another storm will just blow it, right, just knock it all out.
Yeah.
So you really want to bring in select fill to redevelop those banks so they'll hold up better next time. So
What's the dollar amount again?
it's well over 2 million.
Looks like we've got 6 of authorization. Yeah, so we'll just need to see if, is there something else that would be worth trying to push up to that as opposed to using part of it now and part of it in the future bond issue? But
Yeah, I think, just rough estimates and just from what we've seen on some of the other improvements in the district, I think we could probably get to 3.
Okay.
Whether or not we could get to 6, I doubt it,
Okay.
which we don't need to, but
no,
I mean, you don't want to really ever, if you're going to go that route on bonds, you really don't want to do less than 1 usually. It's just with all the non-construction costs involved in conveying, and selling the bonds.
Yeah, the
But
administrative.
you're already above that with this. So if we tacked on the rest of that ditch and pipe stuff and got to 3, that'd be reasonable.
yeah, you have to have a reasonable expectation in your federal tax law to spend those funds with 3. So,
Yeah, once we go, we would need to go, obviously. Yeah, once those bonds are sold, we would need to move forward.
And that's a do it all in the same calendar year kind of thing. We get it done.
Not necessarily, you don't have to, I mean, it could be.
Could we, if we wanted, I mean, if you sequenced it.
I don't know if we talked too much about time frame. It's not gonna be a year-long project for sure. I would say this project could take 6 months or so. So, but the bond process that we would go through, I mean, that could be a 6-month process just to get because we have to go through the state. We have to build a bond application report. You have to submit it to the state. And then once that's approved, which could take, 3 to 6 months, and then it's got to go to the bond sale, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a process in itself just to get at the money.
So you guys will help us assess if there's bundling here or other things that we want to think about. But my question would be simply this, Eric, when we think about contingency. So if that is it's not an insta thing, right? We decide to go issue bonds or go to the market for that. And it does take 6 months. So we're talking fall or at the end of this year before we get to what happens with, we get another 100-year storm this July, August, and the quote changes. It goes from 2.1 to 4. You know what I'm saying? Can you adjust? I mean, what do we build in contingencies? I don't know how that works.
You do when you go into the bonds, TCQ is not going to want you to put more than I think 20% contingencies. I think for that unknown, I'd probably want more contingency, to be honest. But they won't allow it usually.
Right.
And so we would definitely have at least 20% in there.
Got it. So we do what we can with what we know when we know it. And then we deal with the gaps if and when they come. Okay.
But I mean, I wouldn't foresee that a $2 million project turns into a $3 million. Yeah, that type of change probably wouldn't occur. What would be probably more likely is, more dirt to be brought in, more hours to build it, and more slope stabilization to build the slopes back, which would be,
That wouldn't be a net new activity, it'd just be in addition to what we're already doing.
Yeah, not a doubling or anything like that.
And that 2 million does include 20% contingency already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So we would likely kind of beef up the estimate to make sure that it's as sound as we can. This was kind of a rough swag. And then, again, I would probably bring this back to you during budget setting time so you can kind of see the whole big picture of your account, your cash on hand, how you're, when you're setting your tax rates, kind of how it will all affect the whole big picture with bonds, cash and everything else.
Yeah,
So you
combination.
kind of see it all right there. And
Is,
then we can make the moves at that point.
this is fairly uncommon for 39 up to this point. I mean, most of us are new here to the, I mean, have we had significant projects that required us to go?
I mean, all the MUDs in the Woodlands got here by selling their own bonds to do build the infrastructure.
The initial.
Water, right, the initial water storage drainage for the community. Since I've been here, I haven't done one.
Yeah,
I've done.
your last bond issue was 2017, so my guess is that was probably still new infrastructure. This may be your first rehab
Significant rehab thing.
bond issue. And you do get, in terms of the timing, you do get a little bit more preferential treatment for a district bond application that's expedited as opposed to a reimbursement bond application. You can get an approval within 45 days of submittal. Now, the engineer has to put it together and there's a fair amount of work to get that put together. But if it's a prospective project, it's not like you have construction contract documents for a project that's been completed. So the application's a lot simpler. So you may be able to get the application done depending on the engineer's workload in a month or so, get it submitted. So maybe you have a 3-month lead versus a typical reimbursement project. It may be a 6-month lead.
And I think, we can probably make that decision when we're looking through the budget. You kind of see it all in front of you.
When we do that?
We'll do that in July and August.
July and August.
In September.
Okay, so is this solely the burden to bear by MUD 39? Because that, if you look at where we're talking about, this ditch sits right up here on the very corner here. And so you have drainage and other things from these other properties around us that go into that ditch. Is there any responsibility or any way that they support the funding of this?
Not that I'm aware of, but that's something that actually came up this last week. We were looking at the map real close and trying to identify exactly where that corner hits because that little finger that goes to the sand jack, that's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
But my question is, where is that?
Yeah.
line?
Is it half of
So
the
as-
corner? I
As
mean.
part of the pre-engineering that would need to be done is to do the surveying to identify the property boundaries. Now that's something that we might could get started on just to verify where the extents of the project will be. That could potentially facilitate a fine tuning of the cost estimate if we find that, there's certain portion of this that's outside of our jurisdiction. But again, I mean, if it's found that there's portions of this outside of your responsibility, then we'll probably need to get the other agency, whoever else it is,
Down.
at least to let them know, because you don't want to fix up to a certain point. And then
Yeah.
the damage eats back into what you just did just because someone else didn't fix their part. So that's kind of what we could probably investigate over the next few months. And perhaps we have the engineer go do some surveying just to identify where the property corners are in that corner to see who owns what. That may be something we can do now. That's not very
I
expensive.
don't know that it was documented, but I know a lot of the damage was notably more prevalent after the large dam releases from some of the storms where that little finger with the water backflows from San Jacinto flows back and covers that whole area up with water. And then when it drains out, it all
When it
collapses.
does its job.
So it wasn't like it's been collapsing from just the drainage from 39. It's usually from the backflow. So.
So it looks like. Is that something that it's a good idea?
I think, I think we would, I mean, as long as we're talking about $1 million to do with surveying. Surveying, I think, is relatively inexpensive, right?
Yeah, I don't have a quote from them yet, but I could see it being probably 20, 25,000.
It's gonna be done anyway, right?
It would be. So we might have to do some redo later, if the project didn't start for a year, but nonetheless, it might be valuable to see where those property corners are. And we do have an act on, so if you're interested, I can work with the engineer to fine tune that.
So Glen Eagle they're a mud district. Are they in a mud?
Yeah, Glen Eagle is 119. That's what we're called. Yeah, it's its own mud.
And yeah, I guess again, we don't know if they would have any responsibility to.
I don't think so. In that corner, yeah, their drainage doesn't go here.
Because they're south and east of it, right? Okay, so
I mean, their water treatment plant drains into it though.
South of here.
So is it, do you want to think about it? Do you want somebody want to make a motion to act on
What's the motion is to approve funding for us.
Funding for the survey.
Surveying up to 25,000, let's say. Then come back and with fine tuning of that.
or you make a motion to say, Eric, please go get a,
You get a quote or what would be the next step? But we could fund it now and then.
I think just a authorization to have me work with the engineer
Okay.
to get the surveying earned out.
So I'll make a motion that we authorize.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, so the survey work would be what to determine what portions of the district's boundaries, because I mean, the district can do work outside its boundaries, and I'm sure you've had this come up too, where you may be in a channel that's, owned and fee by, flood control district or what have you, but they're not gonna go and pitch in and do the work, so the district ends up still having to do the work, even though it's downstream of or connected to a portion that's downstream of the boundary. So, is that,
so you're just saying, is, what's the intent here?
Correct.
To,
I mean,
Go ahead and do it.
necessarily limit what the district's ability is to do a project unless there is another entity that would be able to pitch in.
which I think is what we're asking here, is just to say, is there any possibility of looking at cross jurisdictional responsibility, right? And
Well, I mean, we've confirmed that TxDOT has some say over this in our dealings with
Wow.
the other deal.
really,
Howard Hughes is the fee title owner. We have an easement, and TxDOT has an easement. But I don't know where the extents of all those easements are. So that could be part of this, is just to evaluate all the property owners and adjoiners to see who's what, where, who has easements and.
Yeah.
And
We're
just
just a little mud.
But Forest Hills treatment plant drains in there upstream of the washout, and the Glen Eagle water treatment drains into that ditch upstream of it. So they're all contributing the water into that. How would they not have responsibility?
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's what we're wanting the survey for, right?
Yeah.
Is there any risk in us, authorizing this? Is it in
No,
your
it's
mind?
it's like, I mean, what we're trying to do is figure out the contours of our easement. Because, I mean, if we're doing work, we have the right to do work inside or outside the boundaries of the district, but it would need to either be in an easement that's dedicated to us, or if we need, work area, et cetera, on the outside of that easement, we'd have to have a temporary construction access easement, that kind of stuff. So for that point, then we would need survey work if we don't know the boundaries of our easement, and if it's enough area to be able to do the work, then we'd have to get that done.
And I think we should go ahead and do that.
As well.
He's on a motion.
How do I word this in?
Authorize GM to work with the engineer to do the survey and legal work to evaluate property lines and ownership responsibility. I don't know, Brian can smooth that up.
Need to make that motion.
All right.
Let's say not to exceed 25,000. Confirm that with them, but I feel relatively safe we can get most of that done.
All right, am I supposed to repeat that, or can I make a motion that we authorize up to 25,000 for him to complete this work?
Second,
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
All right.
Approved.
Next item on the agenda is protocol for agenda setting. This came up in a district or two, and I ended up putting it on all the agendas just to give a reminder to everybody that our protocol is, if we need an agenda item to be on either a trustee meeting or one of the director meetings, to have those requests in by the end of the day on Wednesday, the week before. So then Thursday, the week before, we generally finalize the agenda, finalize it, work with Brian's office to finalize all the items. And then that sets us up nicely for Friday to be able to start collating all the information, everything that goes under these, and then start making the packets for y'all to have them available by Friday afternoon. And so that's just the normal timing that we do. And then we have to file, there's certain laws where we have to file within no sooner than 72 hours before the meeting. So one might ask, well, what about a Wednesday meeting? That's Sunday, not Friday or Thursday. Well, we can't file on the weekend with the
5 p.m.
county.
on Friday.
So it's 3 now. They've moved it up. So it's Friday afternoon. So that's kind of what sets our whole thing in motion. And to be able to get these packets to y'all on Friday, that's kind of how we need to do it. So
Courtesy and just criticality of you can't just call it 2:59 p.m. on Friday. And it's an emergency. No.
And we do have some flexibility to amend agendas after they've been filed. That is not out of the realm. And certainly we would consider that for some kind of emergency, but once the packets are done and out, it makes it pretty tough.
Never hurts to ask, but don't expect. Fair enough.
That's all I had.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Next item up the agenda, receive the Woodlands Water Trustees Report.
We talked a lot about what was in the trustee meeting. Obviously, everybody's been encouraged to go back and watch the video regarding the Woodlands 10-year project, which you have a packet for, and was described in greater depth at the meeting. Eric talked specifically to make sure we were all aligned on the GRP goals that we have going forward. And then, of course, there was a lot of discussion and now a follow-up meeting over the Corolla study, which several trustees kept injecting a lot of conversation in around this on our meeting. So other than that, I mean, I think the best is obviously please go back and watch the video and catch the meeting so that way you can not miss out on any of that discussion.
Anything else? That's all it.
No, but yeah, if you could make that meeting, if anybody, I'd encourage everybody to make the meeting also next week.
The one-off.
Yeah, it's the trustee meeting to discuss the Corolla study.
So it's specifically targeted just for the Corolla conversation.
Yeah, it's not all mud, so we're meeting in this room. It's a typical trustee meeting, so
Throw it up on the TV.
we probably could.
Yeah, we needed to just, okay, but yeah, that, I understand why you would have to carve out that conversation. Otherwise, you're not getting anything else done. So, okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Keith. Next item up, do we need to recess for a closed session at this point? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, number 21, moving on. Discuss any matters for placement on future agenda. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add for next month?
Don't know if we'll have it next month or not, but I know the development company is working with Montgomery County on that deal for the defined area. They called and asked a few questions about mechanically how they're structuring that. So I know they're working on the deal with.
That's the code sharing thing with the swap out some this. Okay.
For the county facility. So what they're supposed to be doing is constructing a detention pond that will serve both that track and the defined area track, but it should be a smaller footprint than what would have been required on the defined area. So at the end of the day, you get more taxable value in the district than you would have otherwise had. But they will need to come to the district for an out-of-district service agreement for that county property. It doesn't make sense for us to annex that in because it doesn't have taxable value. So we'll just need to have an out-of-district service agreement. Don't know if they'll be asking for that next month or not.
Coming soon. Okay. Fantastic. Anything else? No. Awesome. I think we're adjourned. 12:39.